This show is sponsored by Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. Hello, all my entrepreneurs and business leaders, and welcome to the Michael Esposito Show, where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great. My guest today has done a little bit of everything until he found his niche in fitness. He started Freeminded Health and Fitness podcast to help people accomplish their personal goals. He's an avid basketball player, an avid coach, a fitness trainer at a local gym, and is trying to help others lose weight and get to their goals as quickly as possible. Please welcome Aaron Reinheimer.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here.
That's pretty cool to have you on.
Definitely, we've talked about it a lot, so it's nice to actually get on here.
An old time basketball buddy.
That's right. That is right.
Although we haven't played basketball together in a while.
It's like if it's outdoors, it's either raining or super hot, and then it's like forget trying to play indoors nowadays.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, you work out at a gym that used to have a really good little indoor court. It was a fun little indoor court, but it was small. So, yeah. But it was at least something to go shoot around on and play on. I liked playing there.
They told me when I started there, they were like, "Oh yeah, we got rid of the basketball court," and I'm like, But why? And they're like, "Oh, well, because there's too many fights."
Yeah.
Like, but it's a basketball court. It was one of the big reasons I wanted to work there.
I will attest to seeing a lot of arguments up there that led to worse things. But I think that also had to do with just it not being supervised appropriately. But that's a whole other conversation that we're not getting into today, because today we're talking about fitness.
Yes.
And I've known you now. Man, is it like 6 or 7 years?
It might even be longer than that.
It might be longer than that, right? Because I don't think I had kids yet when we met playing basketball.
I think you had one.
I had Denise, maybe.
Yeah.
So
because I think I had one. So
Denise is 8. So that's at least 7 years ago when we first met. And when we first met, I remember you were not in the best shape of your life.
Not at all.
And I would even say even mentally, because I remember you and I having a really great conversation at my old office, and just kind of like your mental state wasn't right. But today I look at you and you're fit, you have full of energy, you're happy, you're talking about things for the future. So a whole shift has happened, and I'm interested in going back to that time when things weren't working out well and how you got yourself out of that.
Oh man, those were some rough days. Back then it was such a challenge. I was a father of one at the time. My son was on the way, and I was just in a really bad place. I didn't know what I wanted to do as far as career wise, and I knew that I wanted to find something that helped people, but you got to make money. You need to have some kind of job and some kind of career. So I was just kind of going with the motions and doing whatever I could financially to find something, and it just never stuck. I never found something that I was like, this is what I want to do. This is how I actually, enjoy. And it was always this back and forth. I still work to this day with my dad's plumbing company, and you're helping out family. You're making some form of paycheck, but it's not fulfilling. He finds it fulfilling, which is great, but it's never been my thing. Going into people's homes and working on their pipes and all this stuff is a necessity for sure, but it's not an enjoyment for me. It's a paycheck. That's how I've always viewed it. And I've always looked at myself and said I wanted to do more. I wanted to make a bigger impact on people. And you say that, and the concept is always like, well, I want to leave my mark, on the world. What are people going to say 30, 40 years from now about this person? And I've always looked, and it's like, well, what have I done? What can I do to leave that mark, to not only for myself, but for everybody else, my kids, my family, and just people around, where it's like, I want to do something that people will remember and that people will appreciate. I feel like nowadays we're so focused on money that we forget that we all matter and we all need to be healthy and we all need to do all these things. And it's like, well, maybe let's look at how we can help each other, instead of just one track minded. So, for me, it was trying to find that one thing that allowed me to help other people and help myself, So I got into the gym and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I got my own trainer at the time. I was very inexperienced. At the time, internet was the internet. It's like it always has been. And so I got this trainer. He's a really nice guy and walked me through some basic stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm going through it. And I'm like, okay. So I got into it. I just kind of jumped right in, started running and lifting weights and whatever. And then COVID hit. So then it's like, okay, well, what the heck do I do now? I've already kind of been in a groove for a couple months. Weight really wasn't coming off just yet, but I was consistent. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, you can't go to the gym anymore. You might get COVID. COVID's at its peak. People are dying. Like, things are crazy. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, I'm home. What am I going to do? And I sat down and I started looking into calisthenics, which is, using your own body weight and how does that help with losing weight. And then I started running outside and doing HIIT workouts, which are literally, again, using your own body weight in super high intensity cardio ways. So I'm sitting there and I'm going through it. And then now, fast forward a couple months, the weight's dropping off. I'm feeling better. I'm able to do more. And now we're picking up steam. And lo and behold, the weight's dropping off. I'm getting stronger. Now I'm doing pull-ups, and there's all these things that people look at and they're like, well, I can't do that. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, cool. I can now. And now you just start hearing, well, how did you get there? You lost 30, 40, 50 pounds. Help me, And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to show you what I do. And this is what we're going to do. And people are like, great. And then you start realizing that education is so important. And if you don't have that, treating someone with diabetes or recovering from an injury or dealing with any kind of health issue, if you're not educated, you have no idea what you're doing. So here I am sitting there going, well, I lost all this weight. I feel great. Let me help you. Let's do it. And I'm dealing with all these different varieties of people that I really don't know how to help. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not trying to be rude to you, but I'm not educated enough to truly help you. And that's a reality check really quick in itself because there is so much out there. There's people that are out of shape and just overweight and they just want to reach their goals. But if you're not educated enough to handle that, well, you shouldn't be dipping into that, and it's like trying to let me go into a hospital and try to diagnose patients without having a degree. It doesn't make sense. So a friend of mine had just become a trainer and, at this point, this is a couple years down the line. And he's like, dude, you're doing this whole thing. Why don't you look to get a certification and become an actual trainer? And I'm like, all right, why not? At the time, I was in the middle of actually becoming a court officer. So I was kind of training for that process, which was doing a lot of push-ups and running and all of these physical things. So I was kind of in limbo waiting for that right after, this is right after the peak of COVID. So things were kind of getting back into normal. And I had just heard about the exam, the physical exam. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to explore other things in the meantime. Wasn't really putting too much pressure on it. And I go forward, go get the certification. And the guy at the school was like, all right, well, why don't you take the nutrition course too? Because if you're going to do, physical, do nutrition as well. So I wound up doing the certification for personal training. I wound up doing the certification for nutrition. And obviously, in all that, you get CPR certificate, and all that. So I did that and I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, cool. Now I have all these wonderful pieces of certifications and at some form of education. I'm like, well, now I need a job. So I wound up going into a lot of different gyms, interviewed all over the place and got actually quite a few job offers. And the reason I wound up choosing Mike Ortega's is just because for me, it was close to home. It was literally, I live 5 minutes away from their Highland branch and maybe 15 minutes away from their Poughkeepsie branch. So I said, okay, cool. And I've been there, let's see, almost a year. We're getting there. It's like 8 months, something like that. So yeah, and then this year, literally 3 months ago, my wife and me were talking and I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, what's next? I'm training people. I'm trying to do all these things and I'm helping people, but now, I want to take another step. So we had talked about the mental side of it. My wife is actually in college for psychology. So, she's big on mental health. Me being what I've gone through in my life, just the mental side of it is so important that I'm like, okay, well, how can I help people not only physically, but mentally? So I started this podcast. And, the podcast is just, it's a safe space. It's an area for people to come and listen to not only my story, my wife's story, and, anybody I have on about their fitness journey. Everybody is so widespread. Everybody, whether you're 60 years old or 20 years old, I don't care the age, or some people are parents, some people are single, some people are in school, some people work 4 jobs, but we're all just on this one path in the sense of fitness, but none of us know how to get to where we want to go. And it can get really overwhelming. So for me, it's like, well, I don't have all the knowledge. I've just a tiny little bit, but if I can use that with the experiences I've had, now training physically, can I take that and build on it and now try to give people, I get it, that relating, that allowing them to see into me and say, okay, I see where you're at. I may not be going through the exact same thing you're going through, but let me help you. Let me find a way to give you that in and create the space for you. But yeah, so I've been doing that and training people, and, eventually I'd love to go on my own and work for myself and build my own personal training side of it so that I can kind of mesh all these things together.
That's awesome. There's a lot there for us to talk about and kind of unpack here. I kind of want to go to what you said with what you had to deal with mentally for yourself, because we can go into all of the other, we're going to go into all the other things of the certifications and the HIIT workouts and dealing with people with diabetes and all these other things. And of course, your journey, your whole personal journey and losing all of that weight and the diet and the physical activity that goes into it. Because that's also a lot of fun with what you did with the dad bod. Your what is it called?
It's Goodbye Dad Bod.
Goodbye Dad
yes.
Bod. I remember when I first saw that hit Instagram for you, and I was like, oh, that's neat. What's he doing? And I saw the home workout. So a lot to talk about there. But I think a great starting point for our listeners who are probably listening to this episode here because they're on their own fitness journey as well.
Absolutely.
And they're looking to either lose weight, gain muscle, try a new diet, whatever it is, and are dealing with some inner demons that we all deal with.
Absolutely.
And they come out in different ways, whether it's with our relationships or our career, but also in terms of our fitness and our nutrition.
Right.
And so for you, going back to put 50 pounds back on Aaron and put him in that bad mental state, what were some of the demons that you were dealing with that you had to overcome?
You take a look in the mirror and you don't like what you see physically, and it messes with the mental side of it, because it's like you start really down speaking. For me, it was, you're not good enough. You're not able to provide for your family financially. You're not in shape. You can't walk up a flight of stairs without huffing and puffing, and it's playing with this little girl who she doesn't understand. She just wants to play with daddy. That's all she's thinking about. And I can't physically do that, and it creates this mental space of just, you don't know what to do, and you're constantly down speaking to yourself. And this is, and my wife always gives the illustration of the 2 wolves in your head, which one are you feeding? And for me, I was always feeding the wrong wolf. It was telling myself that I'm not good enough, that I can't do these things, that I'm never going to reach the goals that I want to reach. And, for me, I fell into depression. I've always dealt with anxiety most of my life. So, all of these aspects, you understand how they affect you emotionally, mentally, physically. Like, all of these things tie together. People don't understand, like, you could be in the best shape of your life. You could have a 6-pack and be able to run 13 miles. I don't care. But if your mental health isn't there, that means nothing, because you're only taking care of maybe a small piece of yourself. So, I had to fix the mental side first while fixing the physical. And, you find I talk about it all the time, your why. Why do we do this? Why do we wake up? And I got that from you. So, I took that and run with it. And it's that concept of just understanding, why are we doing what we're doing? The motivation behind everything. And for me, it was my kids and my wife, and just being a better human being and being happier. And I'm not going to say it's easy because it's not. There are people every day that deal with depression and anxiety and that are on medication for it or going through different kinds of therapies. Like, there is so much involved in mental health. And for me, it was trying to solve this Rubik's Cube, of just everything is so mixed up, but how do we get to solid colors? How do we get to even somewhat solid? Maybe it's not all the way healed, but at least to a point where it's manageable and where you're going and how you want to take the next step. So that was, it was definitely a tough hill to climb.
A Rubik's Cube is such a good analogy of the mental, because it's like, well, I mean, for me at least, it's a good analogy, because for those who can solve it, it's maybe not the best analogy.
Yep.
But for me, because I could never solve a Rubik's Cube.
Exactly.
The closest I get is to maybe like 3 or 6 colors on one side, and I'm like, all right, I like that's like an accomplishment. But like, what I'm saying in terms of that analogy for me and how that works in terms of never being able to solve a Rubik's Cube is like, that's kind of like how the mind is anyway.
Yep.
The mind is, you're never going to solve the mind. And I think that when you release that from thinking, right, of like just understanding that we're never going to be perfect,
right?
Understanding that like the mind is always going to go through these highs and lows of happiness and sadness and guilt and depression and all of these different feelings. That's part of the mind. There's no perfect color in the mind.
Exactly.
So I love that Rubik's Cube analogy, because there are some days where we're going to get like 6 or 7 colors in a row and we're like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yep.
And then there's other days where we flip that cube over and it's just like all 15 colors are there. And you're like, what just happened on this side? How did this happen here?
So I always say it on my podcast, celebrate the wins. If you get that day where you get even 5 of those colors, like that is just celebrate it.
Yeah.
Like, because it does so much for your mental health of just understanding that you did something positive.
Yeah.
Take that and run with it.
Let's go to the depression here for a second and highlighting that a little bit. So I'll speak about myself here just real quick so that we can kind of have some relatability in terms of this. So I didn't realize that I was in a depressive state, and I think so many people kind of experience that as well, is that they don't know that they're in a depressive state. They just think that like life just sucks. And then when you find your way out of it, you're like, oh, okay, I was actually depressed back then. So for me, it was actually in between, working in the marketing world and then getting my insurance license, which from there on I was fine. But in between that time was I had been job hopping from different marketing companies from one to the other. Gotcha. And I rode the roller coaster of like highs and lows of being rep of the month and agent of the year and all these different great accolades to getting fired, to being like, nope, you suck, you're out, and not understanding why. And I love that you brought up the purpose piece, because it was at the time I didn't understand my purpose. Right. And the depressive state that I hit was, I remember there was two specific times. One where I didn't know I was depressed because all I was doing was hanging out with my friends and out drinking and having a good time. Mm-hmm. So I thought that I was just having a good time, but really what that was probably me overcompensating for depression and not realizing what I was doing. But the time that I knew, or that I'm able to identify as a depressive state for me in my life, was my wife was pregnant. I had just been fired, I believe, from my last job. My wife was pregnant, and I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I was thinking about, well, I always wanted to be an actor, so I started getting into the acting field and everything. But right before I was even able to make that step, I remember I'm sitting on the couch, and this was like going days on end of like not having a job, not knowing where to go, kind of like trying to look at all the job sites and look for another marketing job, another job, just going through that cycle. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, and this is like so vivid to me, ESPN is on, because that's all I would watch is just ESPN. And it's like you start it in the morning show, right? You watch the ESPN morning show. And if you've ever gone through the cycle, God bless you. But you watch the morning show. Then you watch the next ESPN, Sports Center. Yep. Then you watch whatever's take. On next, First Take or PTI, like and then the argument one with Skip Bayless and whatever. And then you watch the other one, and you watch all of them, right? And maybe the first couple days of watching all of these shows consecutively, they all feel a little bit different because it's different hosts. But after about a week of it, you start realizing every one of these is the same exact show
Everyone.
with different hosts. And I think that is when finally I was just like, wait a second here. I've been watching way too much ESPN.
Same exact TV. Like
I've been watching way too much ESPN here. And what is going on? Yep. And I mean, eventually, I did end up booking some acting gigs and learning that acting was a calling and a passion of mine. And I started finding my why and getting into motivational and inspirational stuff and working towards that, and then understanding that acting wasn't the best for my family situation. And that's when I got insurance license and went down the path of insurance, and the world kind of opened up for me from there. But I remember that time. I look back at it and I'm like, yeah, I was seriously depressed. I seriously was depressed, and there were thoughts that went through my mind of ending it all, of just like, this isn't worth it, of all of those thoughts. But I thought they were normal. I thought it was just, yeah, I got fired. I'm looking for a job. My wife's pregnant. Of course I'm feeling this way. Yep. But it was depression. And it took a while to get myself out of it, like I said, from finding my passion, from getting people around me, Tony Robbins tapes and things like that. So I'm interested in what yours maybe looked like and how you were able to walk yourself out of it.
I mean, it's for me, it was the analogy I could give you is days feel black and white. You wake up, you go through your routine, and you go to sleep. And there's some rays of sunshine in there. The colors start to change a little bit, but it's always black and white. You wake up and nothing changes. And you're stuck in this cycle, and you're sitting there, and it's like, okay, I gotta get up for work. I gotta go do this. I gotta make the money. I'm home. Yay, I get to spend some time with my family. There's that little bright light, and then it's like, oh, now I gotta go to sleep, go back. And it wound up being this just as really dark. Like, it just felt like it was always dark. It was always raining in my world. No matter how sunny it was around me, in my world, it was just dark. And you don't know what that looks like in a sense, because like you said, things are rough. So it's just like, well, it is what it is. And I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. And you're not really sitting there going, well, I'm actually depressed. Like I said, I've always dealt with anxiety. I used to suffer from, even to this day, every so often I get panic attacks from certain things, triggers, but that was always kind of controlled in a sense. And going through depression is very different, because it's like you don't know what's going to happen. Your mind is moving some days really, really slow, and then some days it's just really, really fast, because you're just all over the place. You're happy, you're sad, you're up, you're down, and it's just, you're just sitting there and you're just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore. Yeah. I need to make money. I need to be present. I need to make sure my kids are taken care of. And at the same time, I need to be happy, but I'm not happy. Like, you're just ping-ponging off all these walls. Everything's dark, and you're just like, okay. And you're just sitting there, and you're just looking into space, and people ask you, like, what's up? Oh, no, I'm just spacing out. Like, it wound up becoming this weird, foggy, black and white world. And, when I started fixing the physical and realizing how dark that mental side was, for me, it was like, okay, what are we going to do about this? Because this isn't working. And, it's a friend of mine used to sit there, and he was able to fix the mental first. He's still working on the physical now. And he wakes up even now, we talk about it, and he's like, I wake up and I change my mental right when I wake up. And it's like, today's going to be a good day. Doesn't matter what happens. You're going to wake up, and today is going to be a good day. There's going to be some bad in there, but it's going to be a good day. No matter how you cut it, no matter what you do with it, today is going to be a good day. And it winds up changing everything, because you set the tone. You started your day with that in mind, and you ran with it. Now there's a lot more light in there. You're seeing things that aren't there or weren't as bright before. So for me, I took that and I try to incorporate that every day. As much as we're all kind of in this mundane, we have to work, we have to do these things, but how can we change how we view it? Do something, first of all, try to find something you actually like to do. It's not for everybody, because careers are careers, but try to find at least something you do in your day that you actually want to do, and it's not just for a paycheck. For me, that is personal training. I'm going to be honest, it's not a lucrative field. I don't make tons of money. I wish it did, but it doesn't, and
yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yet. So it's something I thoroughly enjoy doing. I like seeing people hit their goals and being able to see their promise and the difference in their own personalities. Someone who comes in and they're like, oh, I'm really overweight. My joints hurt. This hurts. That hurts. And you're like, okay, well, let's fix it. It's going to take this amount of time. This is what you have to commit to, whatever. And once they slowly make progress, of course, we hit that point where it's like, well, I've been doing this for a month. Why I haven't lost 50 pounds? Well, didn't take you a month to put on 50 pounds, so that's a whole nother story. But, it's the concept of, for me, the happiness that people get when they're able to look in the mirror and they see the changes. And it does help your mental. You're like, oh, okay, I feel better physically. And it's like, all right, well, now, maybe things aren't so dim and dark. Maybe things actually are a little bit brighter. So I try to, for now, I try to find the positive, and it's not always easy to find. Obviously, I'm very blessed. I have 3 kids, my wife, and my family, and that's my biggest blessing, no question. But, there's a lot of other aspects to life. We focus on the good, but sometimes the bad can just engulf and block out what we have. And, I'm always told, like, you should be really happy. You have your family, whatever. I love my family with all my heart, but work does mess with you. Your job and your career and all these other aspects, it messes with you and it kind of grabs hold of you. Mm-hmm. So taking that aspect, for you work full time, it's 40 hours of your work week, if not more, that you're out and about with other people and servicing whatever you're doing. And you got to find happiness there, not just at home. Like, so it's taking everything for me and trying to find the little rays of sunshine and focusing on that. That's how I fixed it, or still fixing it, I should say.
Well, yeah, it's like you said, focusing on the wins. You said it earlier, is like, with your podcast, is that, focusing on the wins is like one of the most important things. And wins give you momentum. When you focus on wins, they give you momentum. I've had to shift the way that I run my business at Den10 and start reaching out to people for insurance. I mean, you and I spoke not too long ago about it, right? Yep. This was something that was different for me because when I, of course, I came from the sales from being in sales. Right. But when I started my business 2 years ago, my idea of my business was that I was going to hire a bunch of salespeople. They were going to do the sales, right, and I was going to manage the business. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. And, I'm glad I'm in a good mental state because that could have, when I think about it and I compare where I am now in terms of like life and business compared to like that time I was fired, it's like, yep. This is a much different situation that has a lot more at stake right now than I did even then. Because even then it was just like, just find a job. Now it's like I got people who work for me and work with me who depend on the livelihood of my business. Yeah. And my family too. And I've personally invested and committed to it. I have more to lose now than ever before, but yet even in a place where this isn't working out the way I wanted it to, I'm in a good mental state to be able to make it work. And it has a lot to do with focusing on the wins. Absolutely. So back to this whole sales thing of like, well, I don't have all the salespeople. I had a few salespeople. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And, recruiting is recruiting. And when you can't offer a salary, it's rather challenging. Absolutely. A salary or benefits. It's rather challenging to find people. And I understand that and appreciate it, of course. So I'm selling now, right? And it's not hard for me to sell.
You have the personality for it, though.
But it's not hard for me to sell. It's just that I also I'm also very conscious of the people around me, and I'm conscious of like my friendships and my relationships, and right. I don't want to blur the line between being a salesperson and being a friend.
You don't want to be that guy.
Exactly. I want you to come to me at a party or at a networking event or at a basketball thing and just be able to just talk to Michael, right, and not feel any hidden agenda behind me. Absolutely. And I think I tried to, you'll tell me if I'm wrong on that, but I try to at least, I think I keep a good balance in that.
No, you definitely do.
So where I'm going with this is that it's challenging still to reach out to friends, family, and even cold people for insurance. But what I learned is that, and I learned it early in my life, but I'm experiencing it right now, is that like once I start reaching out to a couple people, and even if like one of the days I sent like 20 text messages out, and in that day, only like out of the 20, maybe like 3 responded. Right. But I focused on those 3 and I got right back to them and we started going back and forth, those 3, right? And focusing on that was like, whoa, I could do a couple more text messages.
Yep.
And then I did a couple more text messages. And then I was just like, I had scanned through my contacts, and there was a couple people that I overlooked. And I was just like, because I was nervous in the beginning of contacting them, because I was like, I don't know if I should or if I shouldn't. But the momentum from those others who contacted me back was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go for it, right?
Worth it.
I'm going to go for it. And finally, like this morning, same thing was like before I came here at iHeart I was like, you know what? I just want to send out 10 emails before I head out for the day today. I just want to send 10 cold emails to these business cards that I picked up over the week. And I started with doing them. Next thing I know, I'm 25 in. I'm like, I just couldn't get away from it because I was just like, I'm in a groove.
Yep.
I got these people. And even though nobody responded yet, because it was like 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, I was in a groove. And so I just going back to highlighting what you just said there of like, when we're in these mental states that are pulling us down or that are preventing us from doing anything that we're wanting to do, if we focus on just that little win and stay with that little win, it's going to give us momentum and wind in our sails, right?
Yep, exactly.
To go into the other stuff.
Exactly. I can't stress that enough, man. Like I tell everybody, I'm like, just celebrate the wins. Like the smallest thing. Set a goal. Super small. I mean, like walk around the block. Like it's something. It sounds so ridiculous, but it's like just go outside and walk and be like, okay, great, I did it. Fantastic. Celebrate that. Like it changes everything in your career, in your relationships. Like that one aspect of being able to see the positive and just looking at it and going, okay, I did this. The momentum is just amazing.
Yeah, I love the walk around the block because, and you and I both get this because I'm in a similar situation as you, not exactly because you're in personal training and I'm not, but I lost a lot of weight too, right? And I did mine through exercise and intermittent fasting, and we're going to get into all of that. We're going to have some fun talking about all that stuff in a second. But this is kind of like my second go around actually of it was, I want to say in my mid to late 20s, I was well over 220, I think I was, or 220 is the same. And I just remember
those 2 pounds matter, man.
I was like, I gotta lose this. And so I started running, and I wasn't really eating healthy. I probably just wasn't eating. I didn't know nutrition back then. Yeah. But I just remember running. I lost a ton of weight. And just lost a ton of weight. I probably got down to 180 if I remember correctly back then. And then kind of gained it back recently to where I was back at like 210 about a year and a half ago until I lost it all again to where now I'm back at like 175, 180. I like to be under that 180 mark. That's probably the healthiest for me. I did get all the way down to 165.
I feel like that's too.
I didn't look so great.
Yeah, I feel like it's too far.
People were asking me if I was okay. Yes, medically I am.
I went through that myself, so I get it.
Medically, I am okay. I think what it was like my body was finding its balance. Like I was doing the intermittent fasting. I was working out. My body was just like burning fat like crazy. I hit 165. Everybody was worried about me, so I was like, all right, maybe I'll cut back on the intermittent fasting and started eating a little bit normal. A little bit. Yeah, I'll actually have a salad.
Oh my God.
I had somebody say to me, eat a sandwich, darn it. Anyway, but where I'm going with that is, so people would ask me, oh, what should I do? How do I lose weight? This and that. And they'd be out of shape, just like I once was, right? And I would say, go for a run around the block. Like just do a mile, do half a mile, right? Just go to the mall and be a mall walker.
Exactly.
And this is the response I got, and this is what I'm looking for from you, is, yeah, but that's not enough to lose weight.
Oh, man, I cannot tell you, number one, how often I hear that and how frustrating it is. Like, people want to be able to just jump into like a marathon. They're like, well, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to go run this marathon real quick, and that'll be enough, and I'll just lose weight. And it's like, you know how hard those people train? Like, there's these steps that you have to take in between. We don't run. It's like when you think of a baby. Like, that's how I always look at it. Like, I say the baby steps, but think of the growth of a baby. Do they run? No, they crawl. Then they start pulling themselves up. Then they start shimmying around. And then they walk. Then they run. Like, there's all these steps that we have to take in between each and every, part of this. And people are like, but a mile is not far. Or I walk all the time. It doesn't do anything. You need to actually like take that and just start there. Because literally you take that momentum and it's like, okay, I walked a mile. Well, okay, if you feel good, keep going. next time you run, you walk 2. Now, okay, if you walk 3 miles, maybe now you start jogging. Now you start running. Like, there are progressions that we have to do in order to, number one, prevent injury, because that's what's going to happen to a lot of people. They automatically, they're like, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to go run. Great. Then they come back and they're like, I hurt my knee, my ankle hurts, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, yeah, you jumped in the 11-foot part of the pool instead of just stepping into the 3-foot. Like, there's progressions. And that's
the thing. So, I think that that's so important for everybody to hear, is that, like, no matter where you are in your fitness and even in your mental state, right? It's about the baby steps. And Tony Robbins talks about this a lot, and I always give him a lot of credit, because when I was talking about that depressive state that I was in, that depressive time. So I've talked about this on the podcast before, so you may have heard this before, but I actually was making believe I had a job for my mother-in-law, because my mother-in-law would come and watch the kids, and I didn't want her to know I was fired. Oh. So I was making believe I had a job, and I would go to a hotel lobby close by in New Paltz.
I remember this.
Oh, you do, right?
I do.
Yeah, and I would go there and I would listen to Tony Robbins tapes, and I would literally study. I would have my notebook open. I'd take notes as if I was at his conference,
right?
And I studied it. But so that's what I did for a while. Anyway, but what he talks about is the baby, and he says, like, the baby is like it crawls first, and it gets up to walk, and it falls.
Yep.
And it crawls again, and it gets up to walk, and it falls.
They cry.
Would you stop? Would you say, you know what? My baby just can't walk. And would you just stop letting the baby try walking?
Exactly.
You would never do that. You would just keep helping the baby. And it's the same thing with all of us in terms of our physical, our mental, our business. Everything that we're doing is realizing that we're crawling a lot of the times. And maybe we are walking and trying to run
stumbling.
and tripping, but we're crawling. And to realize that we're going to fall when we try to walk, and we're going to fall when we try to run. And it's about getting back up and trying again. But going back to this whole baby, this idea of a baby, of like just starting somewhere.
Yep.
You got to have a starting point, right? And the starting point in the physical could just be a walk.
Yep.
Right?
Just a walk.
So I think that that's so important. And the next thing that I want, if you could share more about, is about consistency and setting up time for that, and being, I think also not just consistency and setting up time, but also being aware of what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think consistency is key with fitness, nutrition, with a lot of things in life. Consistency is key. But with this particular thing, people get so wrapped up in the internet. There are so many influencers everywhere, and they're like, well, I saw this guy and he can do a pull-up and a push-up and then jump into a burpee and then run 3 miles. It's like, okay, cool, that's good for him. You should not start there. Like, you're gonna, if you set that bar too high, when you don't hit it, there is no consistency, because you're not gonna be able to do it. There are certain things that we need to look at and be realistic. If you're someone that doesn't want, not everyone can afford a trainer. Not everyone wants a trainer. Some people just want to do it on their own, and that's totally fine. But do your research. Find out what's going to actually work for you, what you can physically do to start, and run with that. And do that for, let's say, 3 months. You set the goal. I'm going to do this workout for 3 months, and then break it into parts. If you want to do this workout for 3 weeks or 3 months, then you go and you say, okay, I want to complete it in X amount of time. And then the next week, I want to get it, 10 seconds, quicker, or a minute quicker, whatever. Like, set the baby goals in there and slowly work. And then once you hit the 3 month, now you reassess. Okay, this is where I'm at. I've been doing this for this much. I've lost this much weight. I feel this much better, whatever. No, now what do I want to do next? But if you do that too quickly, you're not going to see the goals. You're not going to see the success, because you only did it for a month. You might see, a little bit of change, but not nearly enough to really motivate you and push. So it's like, set the bar low. Set it low, because you're going to hit it then.
Right.
You're not. If you set the bar too high, you're not going to reach it.
Right.
So I think consistency is such an important thing. People will see all these different workouts and all this other stuff, and they're just like, well, I want to try that. And it's like, okay, but stay here. Let's stay here where you're starting, and we can work up to that. If in 6 months you feel really, really good and you think you can do that, you can try it, and don't be mad if you can't. Like, that's okay. There are people that have been training for decades, and that's why they're able to do the things they're able to do. Doesn't mean that you're less of a person. Just means you're not able to do that yet. And it's all about consistency. And when it comes to the nutrition side of it, I cannot stress this enough. I don't care what diet you pick. You got to be consistent,
right?
Because if you change things too much, your body is not going to be able to keep up, whether it's intermittent fasting or keto or whatever you want to do that's going to work for you. As long as you are consistent with it, that's all that really matters at that point.
Yeah. You asked me that a while back about that. Is it sustainable?
Exactly.
And I think that that's so important too in anything that you do, whether it's exercising or food or anything. Is it sustainable?
Yep.
I was actually just did one of my Instagram lives about this. Was it yesterday or the day before? About living in harmony, in that if you're doing things, if you're creating habits that are not sustainable, right? Or that are taking away from another aspect of your life, then you're not going to be able to continue in that habit because the other parts of your life aren't going to support it.
Exactly.
So like for me, the conversation came up in that space was about sales. I was training somebody on sales, and this person was gung-ho, and I was training her, and she was like, I'm going to go to every networking event. I'm going to cold call. I'm going to prospect. I'm not going to do my laundry. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to go food shopping. My husband's going to do all of that stuff. He's going to do it all. We already talked about it. And I was like, whoa.
That bar is
hold on.
Holy high.
Hold on a second here. Let's just realize something. After about 3 months of your husband doing his job, doing the laundry, doing the cooking, doing the kids, doing the drop off, doing everything, and you're completely obsessed with this job, how long until your family stops supporting you in your sales goals? And that has to do with sales, but it's the same thing with food and nutrition, right? It's like, how long do you stop supporting yourself and going, you know what? I just can't eat another keto bar.
Yeah, I want some food in my life,
so there has to be a good balance, and I think harmony is great. Like for me with intermittent fasting, and we could talk about me because I wouldn't want to talk about anybody else because everybody's different and health and all the other things. But for me, I did find a balance in intermittent fasting that works for me and that I enjoy. And it does have, goes from 20-hour fasts where I pretty much do on a daily basis. I do a 20-hour fast until I eat for 4 hours, and then obviously. But I do enjoy good foods in there. I don't really eat unhealthy. I don't go off the rails. Like I have shakes of kale and spinach and kefir and flaxseed and all sorts of like fun nutritional.
I'm sure you enjoy that.
And then I have Oreo cookies.
See?
And then I have Oreo cookies. So there's like a balance there that I do enjoy. And then on the weekends, I kind of like let myself just be free to kind of give my body a reset of just enjoying a bacon, egg, and cheese, right? Like just enjoying something fun so that I could also be like, I could appreciate what I'm doing throughout the week. Right. And then I always end it on a Sunday with an ice cream sundae.
There you go.
And when I make my ice cream sundae, the bowl of ice cream is literally the tub. Like I think I take 2 scoops out for my daughters.
I love that.
Right? They probably get a scoop each from that tub, but the rest of the tub is mine. And I put on sprinkles and Reese's Pieces.
There's
and
so much
M&Ms
joy in there.
And chocolate chips. And it just keeps going with cherries.
Oh,
and if there's cookies in the house, they get thrown in, like homemade cookies or brownies or jelly and peanut butter. Like I swear that all goes into my sundae.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it for a second. And that is probably the best thing you'll eat all week. Like... the funny thing with food, and this is what I tell everybody. I don't care if I work with a client or with anybody, do not ruin your relationship with food, because that right there, that was one of the lines I've heard, and I've stuck with it because, man, people do so many things with food, right? It's like we went from, well, I can't have bread or carbs or any of these things, and it's like, okay, listen, if that's what you want to do what you got to do. But understand, bread is delicious. Pizza is delicious. Like there is a lot of things in this world that may not be the best for you. And I put that in quotations because we could debate that, but does it taste good? Do you enjoy it? Like when you're done eating that, are you like, oh, that was so good? Like there needs to, we're only on this planet for so long. Like, are you going to just, great, you have a 6-pack, you're shredded, you look great, you could do all these things. Are you like, do you enjoy food? Like, do you enjoy your meals, or are you just like, yeah, I'm big, I'm strong, and that's it? Okay, like, cool. Listen, if that works for you as a person, that's perfectly fine. I'm just a big advocate for, like you said, harmony. Finding the things that work in your life for you, number one, to reach your goals. But number two, so you're not miserable. Like, if intermittent fasting works, I may not be a big advocate for it, but it's because a lot of people take it too far. And then when they don't hit their goals, they go into the depression state. They're like, I did this so long and I deprived myself of so much and I'm not there yet. And it's like, because you found something everyone else said worked, but it didn't work for you, you know? And listen, if it works for you, that's fantastic. Like, that's my big thing. If it works for you and you can sustain it, I'm good. I'm happy. That's all I want for people, is to find the things that actually work and you can actually sustain.
And I love the quote that you said there of don't ruin your relationship with food, because that's so true. And I mean, in everything that we do, like, and again, I can only speak for myself here in terms of the diet, is that like, yeah, I'll enjoy a slice of pizza. Yeah. I mean, I won't have 4 slices of pizza, which I once did. And I think, the quantity control is so important. And you and I talked about this, so I definitely off mic, so I'd love to continue this conversation back on mic here about like where it's like, well, I can't have pizza. And it's like, well, it's because you used to eat the whole pie.
Yeah, exactly.
What if you had a salad before to kind of like fill your belly and get your belly ready?
Right.
And maybe a yogurt even to get a little bit more in there, a little bit more nutrition, a little health, a little bit probiotic.
Diet,
there's a good there's a good mix. There's so many good things in there of magnesium and and proteins and everything that are happening. And then cap it off with a slice of pizza. Maybe even 2 if it's a cheat day,
it's
right?
not going to kill you.
But so I always have that balance in my eating. Like, I don't really eat carbs, but I eat carbs. Like tonight is Friday night. My wife and I, we do a movie night together, and we have Cheez-Its when we watch our movies.
Right.
And I'm going to have Cheez-Its tonight.
Listen, I
do have my bag back there of food, though, for later, because I haven't eaten yet, though. I am hungry.
Like, I find that people take it too far.
Right.
Where it goes from, okay, I want to lose weight and I want to do all these things, and now you've eliminated all these things that you thoroughly enjoy. Ice cream is amazing, man. Like, it can't just be, well, I'm just not having that anymore.
Right.
Like, you need to enjoy food.
And if you're having it every day, then the question is, how much enjoyment are you getting out of it every day?
Exactly.
But when you're having it once a week, and it's funny because actually I literally just had this conversation with my daughter this morning because she said she wanted ice cream today. And I was just like, well, we have it on Sundays. Yeah. I mean, she might end up having it today because they're doing something special today.
It's different.
And it is different. But I was like, well, we have it on Sundays. But that is like what I look forward to all week. It's also by having those rewards that we're kind of like talking about here, is like by having those, that's what kind of gets you over the hard time of the diet, of the workout, of being able to be like, you know what, tonight I'm not eating the cookies. I'm not eating the Oreos, which I'll have nights where I don't eat the Oreos.
Right.
Last night I had 2 Oreos, and I was very happy.
I was going to say it. I bet you're happy about it.
And they're the Mega Stuffs.
Yes.
So they're amazing. The Mega Stuff Oreos are amazing.
They are really
They are
good.
terrible for your sugar content. They are terrible for all the other stuff, and that's fine. But they are amazing.
So good.
But you got to skip them every day. You got every now and then, I mean.
Yeah. You can't have that, and that's the whole thing. Moderation is so important, and I've been asked this so many times by different clients, like, well, I can't have this, and I had a client tell me she can't eat bagels. I'm like, why?
Right. I remember this.
Why? And she's like, well, they're bad for you. And I'm like, why? Tell me why. Like, if you have an explanation for me, I will respect that 100%. But if you just look at me and you tell me this isn't good for me, I need to know why you think that. Because no food is 100% good for you, and no food is 100% bad. There are goods and bads. There are some that are better for you. There are some that are worse for you. But there's just no food on this planet that's just like, it's just bad. 100% bad. It's not. It may not help you lose weight. It may not do necessarily anything for you nutritious wise, but does it taste good? Do you enjoy it? Like, okay. So you don't have to have it, like you said, every day, multiple times a day. You might just have a little bit of it.
Right.
But now you're enjoying it that much more because it's not indulgence. It's just like, man, I really just wanted this cupcake. Or maybe you're a cookie person or a cake person, whatever. Enjoy that. Like, it's not going to kill you.
And when you think of it from a cost perspective, too, of like, if you're having a bacon, egg, and cheese every morning on a bagel, what is that? I don't know, $6? I don't know,
something
right?
Like
Let's say it's $6. So it's $6 a day every day, plus the weight that you're putting on from it all. Now, let's take a step back here and say, you know what, I'm only going to have a bacon, egg, and cheese bagel once a week, right? And instead of going to Dunkin' Donuts for my bacon, egg, and cheese, which is awful, right, for $6, I'm actually going to spend $12
and get
on
a really fancy
the best one from like some bread company out in Rhinebeck or New Paltz or you know, one of those like granola bread companies.
It's got the works.
They make the bread there themselves. The bagels are fresh. The eggs are from some farm right there. The bacon's right off. It's
juicy, it's crispy, it's delicious.
You know what I mean? And you spend the $12, you're going to get more nutrients out of that meal than you ever did before because all of it is fresh. All of it is real ingredients. You're going to be more satisfied
because you waited.
And go back to your relationship with food. Like the dopamine rush that you're going to get from that bacon, egg, and cheese that you and I are about to go out for right now. The dopamine, you're going to get a huge dopamine rush. And then let's go back to working out now. And then you're going to go back on Monday to your workout with Aaron, right? And it's like, you know what? What am I working out for? I'm working out for that bacon, egg, and cheese on the weekend, right?
And that's how you look at it. Like that is how, you know, when I do my nutrition for the week, Monday through Friday is relatively strict. Weekends, it's fair game. Anything and everything that's in my sights, I'm eating it. I don't care. You know, the only thing I track on the weekends is like, all right, I make sure to get my protein in. You know, just so I know there's some protein coming into my body. Outside of that, and I'm sure there is some nutrition professional that's probably hearing that and going, oh, how dare you? Like you're ruining your body. Listen, this is how I do it, you know, and I'm happy with that. And I'm satisfied with that. It doesn't mess with my goals. It doesn't mess with anything physically. And it makes me a much happier person because come Monday, I have enjoyed my food. I have done whatever I wanted throughout the weekend. And Monday, it's back to work. It's back to work. I do my workout. I eat my whatever I'm supposed to eat that day. And we're good. And I wait and I get so excited because I see, you know, the pack of cookies on the counter and I'm like, all right, you can't touch that till Saturday. Okay. I respect that. I have this conversation in my head where I'm like, listen, dude, you know you want to eat that right now. You're going to wait. You're going to wait till Saturday and then you might eat, you know, half the container. And that's okay.
And you know, I think that goes back to with what you're just talking about now in terms of happiness when we're talking about the mental state and the depression and all these other things that everybody's dealing with in different ways and in different levels. It's about being happy. Yeah. It's about finding happiness. Fitness isn't just, like you said, about the six-pack abs, which I do work on.
It is difficult, people.
It's about happiness. It's about, are you happy with what you're doing? The other thing that I think is important that you brought up, which was comparison, where people are comparing themselves, their workouts to others, comparing their figure to others. I mean, I looked at your arms when you came in. I was just like, all right, I got some work to do. But, you know, it happens, right? So I'm interested in how do you speak to your clients about that comparison that happens? I mean, especially working out in a gym where there are all of these different levels of people.
Yep.
You feel like you're the biggest guy there, then oops, somebody walks in with a tank top.
Exactly. And listen, man, in a gym setting, it can be one of two things sometimes. It can be the most intimidating place you ever walk into. You could look around and everybody is gigantic, lifting twice as much weight as you, running twice as fast as you, whatever. And you're like, oh my goodness, why am I here? The number one thing I tell every single person, stop looking around. Stop looking around. Have blinders on. Focus on what you're doing because I guarantee you the person next to you, number one, doesn't have the same genetics, doesn't have the same amount of time. They may have been doing this a lot longer than you. You're coming into this fresh with all of these things in your head, like, I want to look like that guy. All right, cool. Set that goal. Understand it may take you a decade to get there. That's just being realistic. Physically, we cannot just jump into the water and expect to just, oh, that's it, I'm done. Transformation. That's what the internet wants you to believe. You know, it's that simple, but there's a lot involved in there. And it's trying to mold people in a sense where it's like, listen, I get that you're looking to your right, to your left, up, down, whatever. You can't. You just can't because there's too many things in play that are going to change that. Age plays a part. Genetics play a part. Gender plays a part. Like all of these things, lifestyle. That guy next to you might live at the gym. Like, okay, maybe you guys have put in the same amount of time, but he's there every single day for 5 hours a day. You're coming in for a half hour a day. Like,
and his nutrition is way different.
Yeah, like he's probably eating everything under the sun. and he's gigantic and he can lift a car. Good for him.
And it doesn't necessarily mean he's healthy.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, right? That's the big part of it. It's like you could be huge, but your body may not be in the best shape that it needs to be in.
And it's not to say that it's not. We're just talking that
we're in generalization. Exactly.
Comparing.
You know, you just can't go into it. And I can't, especially with weights, with guys, we have this, for some reason with men, we have this pride thing where it's like, you're lifting weights and the guy next to you is lifting more. You're like, well, okay, I'm going to put on an extra plate because I don't want him to be looking at me going, I'm weak. You know what?
This is why
he doesn't care.
This is why I like working out from home.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't care. That dude is so focused on his own workout and his own thing. He might be looking at you going, good for you, man. You're here. You're doing it. Like, I have met so many varieties of people, working out myself, where people you think they're like mean because they're big and whatever. And they're sitting there and they'll come over and they'll pat you in the back. Dude, you killed that set. Like, that to me is such an altering your mind. It's like, oh, wow. Thanks. Like, I appreciate that you came over and said that to me. And there is starting points for everybody, and everyone's life is different, like, and nutrition, like, all of these things, there are all these different factors. It's a big old melting pot, and you could throw them all in there, but if the ingredients are different, you're not going to get the same result. So comparison is so important to kind of just throw out the window. Stop comparing yourself, and I tell people this on my podcast and in person, and I just like go into it with, I am me. I am going to set my goals, and I'm going to reach my goals at my speed. And that's it. Be selfish in that aspect. Like, this is about me and only about me. I don't care about Joe Schmo next to me. I don't care how good she looks next to me. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, focus on you. Take that, whether you're working by yourself or with a trainer. And to your point, if that gym setting is uncomfortable, work out from home, man. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. People are such advocates for, well, I have to go to the gym. Why? You like working out at home? Work out at home. YouTube is fantastic. Like, and it's free most of the time. Like, take a YouTube video and do that video every day. And I don't care who's on the screen. Look at yourself and say, okay, I completed that workout. That's it.
Yeah, for me, I used to go to the gym, the one that you go to, and I enjoyed going to the gym. But when COVID happened, obviously that closed.
Yep.
And so I had to start learning how to work out from home because I was just like, all right, well, and we couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So there was no contact. So I started learning to work out from home. And at the time, and this speaks to your whole getting hurt and everything, prior to that, so I have a missing shoulder essentially because of a skiing accident. So there's no muscle in my right shoulder. And so prior to that, I'd go to the gym and I'd have this whole comparison issue of like, I gotta lift these heavy weights. I gotta do this. I gotta do the shoulder presses, the military presses, and all this other stuff. And at least once a year, I would get a really bad pinched nerve in my back right shoulder, right?
Doing too much.
To where I couldn't move my neck, my head, nothing for days, weeks sometimes, right? And anyway, so COVID happens, I work out from home, and I start having to do calisthenics because I don't have any weights. So I start doing push-ups. And at the time, I remember, this is so crazy to think back on because of what I could accomplish now, but at the time, doing 10 push-ups was just like, that was a day's workout for me.
And for some people it is.
Which was odd because I can go to Mike Ortega's, I could go to the gym and put up a bench press of 180 or whatever. But for some reason, a push-up was hard for me. And it had to do with because I'm using all of my body weight. I'm using muscles in my back and in my shoulder that I don't normally use in a bench press.
Exactly.
I'm using all of these different parts of my body. And at the time, so I could only do 10 push-ups. And then I was just like, I started getting into this groove of doing them regularly. And I was like, all right, let me get 20 in a day, 30 in a day. And now I could do 30 in a clip. And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing, right? And I'm talking all the way down, chest to the ground, back up and everything. So what I'm getting at is that those home workouts, you can actually get yourself to be stronger.
For sure.
To some extent.
Absolutely.
Because I feel that from exercising through doing push-ups, so now I do 100 and change push-ups a day. Like that's like my thing. I got to do 100 push-ups a day. That's like my goal every day, except for my days that I have off.
Right.
But pretty much 5 to 6 days a week, I'm doing 100 push-ups a day, plus everything else that I'm doing in terms of exercise. And I look back and I'm like, I'm stronger now without even doing a bench press. Like I haven't touched a bar, right? I'm stronger now than ever before. And it has to do with working out from home, doing the calisthenics, doing the abs, doing, crunches, doing the push-ups, now I got a pull-up bar, doing the pull-ups. And even that, like I remember I couldn't do one pull-up.
Most people can't. Like pull-ups are not an easy thing. I don't care what any fitness person tells you. Pull-ups are not easy, like at all.
Those are hard.
You're lifting all of your body weight over this bar. And if you're doing it full extension, that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Full extension is hard.
Oh, it is.
My daughter started doing it.
Yeah.
So this is the cool part about working out at home. So I you're a personal trainer and you work at a gym, but I think that essentially for you, as you get your business off the ground, helping wealthy people work out from their mansions would be a nice goal for
wouldn't
you.
it? Wouldn't it? All those mansions of, yes, absolutely.
So all of you wealthy people listening who have a home gym, Aaron's going to be able to help you with what I'm talking about. And I think these are the benefits of working out at home. Yeah. You could definitely speak to the benefits of working out at a gym, but I think the benefits.
I can speak to both because remember, for me, I started at home. I lost 90% of my weight at home. One of my specialties that I even now use in the gym is calisthenics and HIIT workouts and stuff, all body weight.
So I want to go there with you then, because let's talk about that and your experience there. But I just want to say this one little piece about one of the benefits is like my daughters see me working out.
Yep.
And they are 6 and 8 years old, and they now every night they beg for this. Freaking weirdos. They beg for this. Daddy, can we do pull-ups tonight?
Yep.
Daddy, can we do pull-ups tonight? And so I set up the chair so that they could reach the bar, and they'll just stand there until they're tired. Like they don't count. They just stand there. They do one pull-up, 2 pull-up, 3 pull-up, and they just keep going until they're like, okay, I can't do anymore. And then they go, and then they try to make their muscle, and they can't.
They try to flex,
and it's so funny.
Oh yeah.
So they love doing it. So I think it's like such a great benefit that the kids are seeing us exercise at home.
Absolutely. And for me, my kids are the same way. I have my pull-up bar. I still do certain push-ups and stuff at home, and my kids are always like, "Can we do them with you?" My oldest is 7, and she's all about it. Oh, any chance she gets. She can't do a pull-up. Yeah, she's small, but doesn't stop her from trying. She's going to hang on the bar. She's going to try, and I'll give her a little boost, whatever.
That's how we started, yeah.
Yeah, and they're all about it, and that aspect of it is huge because for the parents out there, you're not only helping yourself, but you're setting the tone for your kids. You're letting them see an aspect of you where it's like, I am working hard, and I'm trying to hit these goals, but you can do this too as you get older, and it's a great example to set for them that if you really want something, you got to work for it. It's not as simple as just getting up and, instant gratification. You're not going to have what you want. You got to put the work in.
Yep. And you started the podcast with talking about like losing the weight so you could play with your kids. And, I feel the same way. Like so I have 2 fitness goals. One is I play basketball and I want to be the fastest, strongest, most athletic 41-year-old out there.
Which is awesome.
And, because whether I have the skill or don't have the skill of basketball, which, I've learned over time, I know that I can control this one piece.
Right.
I can control how fast, how strong I am on the court, and how much endurance I'm going to have to be able to last.
Exactly.
And get down on a fast break and get back on defense.
Right.
And be the first one back on defense. That's really important. So that's one. And then the other is to be able to do anything with my kids. If they say, "Can I get on your back? Can I get on your shoulders?" I don't want to ever have to say to my kids, "You can't get on my shoulders. I can't carry you."
Exactly.
And I don't know when that time will come. I mean, eventually there'll be a day, but as long as it's within my control, that's one of my fitness goals is that I can always run with my kids and I can always carry them whenever I need to.
Right.
So I'm interested in you and when you were cutting the weight and you said like 90% of what you did was from home, what was in terms of those motivations, because you did mention that was one of them. Mm-hmm. What were some of the workouts and some of the things that you did to lose that weight from home?
So I started the same way you did. Push-ups were, you always hear how great push-ups are for you.
They're amazing.
But let's be real. If you've never done them before and you never really dipped into that pool, push-ups are hard.
They're hard.
You're using all of your weight, and if your arms aren't built for it, lifting however much you weigh, and especially if you're heavier, okay, cool. Now you got to lift yourself off the ground. Like, people say it, and they're like, I could do 200 push-ups. Great. It's hard, okay? I don't care who you're talking to. It's hard. And there's a million different variations because you can do close-handed, wide grip. I mean, there are so many different things so you can hit different parts of your body. So for me, I started simple. I just started doing push-ups, and I did as many as I could until I just dropped to the ground. And then I progressed, so it went from maybe I only did 20 in a clip to 25. And then as it grew and grew and grew, I changed my variation. So I started doing different types of push-ups so I'd hit more muscle groups and grow that. And as you do that, you start to see, number one, you're getting stronger. Number one, you're leaning out a little bit because you're building this muscle, but your body is changing. So now you venture. So for me, it was, well, what can I do at home, outside of push-ups? Well, okay, you can do dips with chairs. I used to set up 2 dining room chairs and do as many dips as I could for my triceps and my shoulders and stuff like that. It's no equipment, no nothing, 2 chairs. And again, not everyone can do that. You work up to it. Legs, I used to just do air squats. Just sit there and do air squats. And as I got a little stronger, I would pick up one of my kids and I would literally do squats with them. And, you find things in the house to just make your weight, like how heavy is a detergent bottle?
Right.
Like, people don't realize, like, you get the big one from like BJ's or Sam's. That's a heavy bottle. That's a weight right there. Take those, do some curls. Like, for me, it was using my body weight and anything and everything I could find in my house that was right there and using it to my advantage, And as I got stronger, my kids were like, cool, Dad, I'm going to hop on your back and you're going to do push-ups. And the idea of that at first was like, no, I weigh enough. I don't need you on my back with me. And it was scary, but after a while, you get stronger and stronger. 2 years down the line, I have both of them on my back and I just bang it out. I'm not gloating. It's just this is a comparison from going and I couldn't do 15 in one shot to now being able to hold 2 little kids on my back and just bang out, 20, 30 push-ups.
Wow.
It's what you're able to do if you stay consistent and you progress. These are the things you're able to do. And calisthenics, I mean, if you were to Google some of the best calisthenic users in the world, I mean, these dudes, they may not be the biggest, but they are the strongest. They're able to like literally just pull one hand underneath them and they just throw themselves in the air like it's nothing.
I think to the point of the strength is because what happens, what I've learned with the gym for me versus home is like gym for me was I tried to lift heavy.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to lift heavy. So I would do 8 to 10 reps, right? Maybe 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps of like some super heavy weight.
The progressive overload.
I honestly wasn't even doing it in let's say the right form where I wasn't pulling it in, retracting, and all of that really well. I'd have a spotter or something, and I wasn't coming all the way down with the bar.
Yep.
So I wasn't even getting the full rep out of those to where working out from home and doing push-ups, like you said, when you start getting into the groove and actually building the muscle, you actually start needing to do more.
Right.
So like doing 100 push-ups is probably equivalent to doing, 10 reps of like 215 or something.
Something like that. Right? Like if you were to really break down the science.
I'm doing 200 push-ups, which is not necessarily building huge muscles, but building strength.
Yeah.
And so you just become stronger. And like what you were just maybe thinking about with the detergent bottle, it's funny because like I'll have my daughters lift something up and like, try that out. And they're like, that's not heavy. I'm like, all right, do it 10 times.
Yeah.
Do it 20 times.
Exactly.
Okay, if it's still not heavy, do it 30 times.
Yep.
If that's all you have, like if you have something else that's heavier, then grab the heavier object after 20 times, right? But if that's all you have, then do 30 reps with it.
Yeah.
I'll do 50 reps of something, not because like, I could do 50 reps, but because it's light and I need to get the muscle to work.
You're doing something at that point. Like, and the reality is, you find the goal that you want to hit and you work with that, For if you're just trying to get in shape, all of these things are great, And again, go back to the walking thing. Walk, run, jog, whatever. Like, there are so many things you can do at home without using videos or any of that or equipment, and it's just like, get creative.
So speaking of creativity, one that I think you'll appreciate. Well, I know you'll appreciate these 3 actually. So one, this morning, I did a little workout from home and I wanted to do arms today. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I need to do some arm curls, but I don't want to do them just standing where, like you're kind of, so I grabbed my daughter's little chair, which is probably about this big.
Okay.
And like, my knees are in my chest and I sat down on that and I was just doing my arm curls because like, it was like real focus, right? So
right.
I love that.
It's like an incline dumbbell curl at home.
Right. And then yesterday was beautiful out. So I was like, all right, I don't want to work out from inside. Yeah. So I set out a little yoga mat outside.
Yep.
And I just did some chest presses from outside.
Perfect.
And then a new one that I started working on is for legs. So you're talking about air squats. So I do squats with weighted squats. I have 35-pound dumbbells that I do them with. And I was like, all right, but really what I care about is the explosiveness for rebounding for basketball, right? So I started doing these like jumps in my living room. And I was like, all right, well, this isn't really good for my knees, but we have this little pool outside.
Okay.
We have this little 10 by 10 pool outside for the kids, and I use it too.
I was going to say.
And it's so great to just jump into. I don't care what size pool you have. I mean, all you need is a little water around you and you're happy. Mm-hmm. So I was like, especially well, what if I did these jumps in the pool, which will also add drag by me jumping out of the water?
Right.
Oh my goodness. My legs were on fire.
Oh, yeah.
From doing that in the pool.
For sure. And then with that in mind, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, get creative. Like, that's awesome to just think about it. You know, look around your house, figure out things that it's like, all right, well, if this is what you want to work on, all right, look to your left, look to your right. There's something that can help you that you're going to be like, that's actually a really good idea. I'm going to try it. And it may not work the first time, but maybe that's when you explore and try something different. Like, there's so many things you can do from home. Like, we don't realize how heavy objects are and how heavy children are. Like, just get creative. You know, even if, like, I used to do, I still have it. I have a weighted vest. That's what I used to do, and that's how I progressive. Because for me, I did push-ups, and I was like, all right, push-ups are getting really easy. Cool. Went and bought a 30-pound weighted vest. Did push-ups and pull-ups with that 30-pound vest on. Like, that was a progression for me. People looked at me like I was crazy when I told them that, and they're like, that's really hard. Don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. I felt fine. I did it because it was a progression, something different for me, and I loved it because I was like, cool. And I went running with that thing on, and it made me faster. It made my legs stronger. Like, there are so many different things you can do, and if you want to buy equipment, you can. You don't have to, though. Like, I used to work for this company called Svetness, and it was very short, but I worked with a client, and he didn't have any equipment, and I went to his house. And speaking on your, rich people with mansions, this guy was from the city, and I worked with him in his mansion up here, and really big house, really nice guy, but he just didn't have any equipment. So we got creative. We started doing HIIT workouts. We started using his stairs and anything in his house that we could just find that was just some kind of weight or anything that he could just lift, and we made it work. Like, that's what you got to do, especially for parents and stuff, that your schedule's really crazy. Maybe you don't have time for the gym. Forget the fact that you don't want to be there. From a time, maybe you just wake up and spend 20 minutes working out at home. Like,
it's also great because, like you just said, like, you just wake up and start working out.
Yeah.
So I love that. Like, I'll have my cup of coffee and then I just literally walk behind the couch because that's where my little air quote gym is.
There you go.
And I just start working out, and I'm like, or I can start working because I also work from home, which is also nice. I can start working, like I said this morning, just bang out some emails and then do a quick workout right in my living room. So it's really nice. But I also think that there are, and then I think there's pros and cons to everything. Absolutely. But there are some great pros to going to the gym too. Right. So we talked about comparison before, but I also think that there's this really great environment in the gym that helps. So, like, I'll do every once in a while, I'll do like a day pass to Mike Ortega's, which I really love because I love getting the sauna in and doing and actually hitting some weights and testing my strength and abilities out. I really enjoy that. So I'm also interested in your thoughts on the gym environment and how it's so uplifting for getting to your fitness goals.
So, number one, find the right gym environment, because I'm going to be honest, I've worked out in a lot of different gyms. There is not always a good gym environment. You can't generalize it. There is a lot of gyms in this area. You could go to one and absolutely despise that environment. So my big thing, different. They're all different. Every gym has a different atmosphere, different people, different styles of working out. Like, if you're someone who's just trying to jump in and figure this out, I recommend taking a pass from every single gym in the area. Unless the first one just hits, and it's just that you love it, then great, stick with that one. But if you go to one, don't get discouraged, because there's no guarantee that one is, you're going to hate all of them. Maybe you went to Golds, you don't like it, or you went to Crunch, you love it, or whatever. Find your gym environment that actually makes you feel comfortable and stick with that, because it's vast. There are so many different types of people, and I've heard stories of both, where it's like someone came from one gym and went to this other gym, and the first gym they went to, they hated it because everybody was grunting and throwing weights, and they were like, oh, it was just this big weightlifting gym, and that's all they did there. And someone else may say that was their perfect environment. Like, you can't get stuck on it. I just tell everybody, find the environment that you actually feel like you fit in. For me, I like where I'm at because there's a lot of people around me that are very encouraging. we're not, I'm sure everybody's different, but, the couple people that I'm there early in the morning. So the same few people are always there, and everyone's kind of just like, yeah, man, you lift a weight, hit a new mark, whatever, and everyone's just happy for you. They're coming over, they're giving you hands, whatever. And that's important, right? Because maybe that weight to you is like, oh, it wasn't that much. It was a max for you. You hit a new level. So maybe, yeah, everyone around you is lifting more, but for you, you progressed, and they're still happy for you. Like, that is so important. And the other aspect of that is that I always talk about on my podcast is if you don't have a gym environment that you necessarily like, create it. Find a gym, walk in. Maybe it's just one of those gyms that it's just, not everyone talks to each other. And it's very just everyone does their own thing and whatever. Create it. Walk in and like go up to somebody. If you see they really worked hard and just be like, dude, that was an awesome set. Really great job. And just give them a high five. They're going to be so thrown off and be like, oh, thanks. Like, but you're now creating it, and then that dude or that person, whatever, is going to maybe go over and do the same thing. And now you're literally creating that gym environment, that progressive, everyone's happy for each other. And it's not going to be everybody, but you're allowing yourself to create that. You're allowing other people to be like, oh, maybe I should have been doing this. I should encourage the young kid that's just barely out of high school that may not have any muscle, that's really scrawny, and he's probably feeling all kinds of self-conscious. And he's coming in and you're just like, listen, dude, great job. Or you could even go in and be like, hey, listen, if you need any help, if you're feeling any type of way, come get me. I'll help you out. Like, those little cues of just helping and creating, it's so big, man. Like, I know for me, I've had people walk up to me and correct my form, correct what I'm doing. Some people get really offended by that. I love it. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me, and listen, as long as it makes sense, obviously, if you're telling me I'm doing something and what you're telling me is wrong, then, but, within reason, if someone's like, hey, straighten your back, and they're not rude about it, and they're just like, listen, man, that was great. Let me give you some help. I'm like, cool. I just came back from vacation, and I was working out at a gym in South Carolina, and I was benching, and this guy comes up to me, retired power lifter. Dude's huge. And he's like, listen, man, can I give you some tips? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, please. And he gives me some tips on benching and how to improve my bench, whatever. And I was all about it, man. He came over after that and tried to spot me and help me out. And it was like, I had been there for maybe 5 minutes. And this dude watched me. Maybe I was just doing something really wrong. Who knows? Like, I don't care. He was really nice. He's living in South Carolina. He's from Long Island. Like, so we had the New York connection there. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, if more people were accepting of this and understanding that it's not to be rude, it's not, if someone's coming over and trying to help you, they're just happy to be there and they want you to be happy to be there. So the gym environment can be very intimidating, but go into it with that open mindset. Like, if it isn't what you want, maybe go to a different gym or create it,
Yeah, and there is a community there. I remember that. I used to go at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and there was just a group that was always there at 6 o'clock in the morning. We all knew each other by name. Yep. We all talked about each other, or to each other, and talked about each other when we weren't there. Like, oh, where's Aaron today? What's he doing? Right. Why isn't he here? And then would get on them, like when they came in, like, where have you been? It's been a week. Like, what's going on? Yeah. Like, kind of like a little like check-in, like, hey, do you need a little bit of, and it was a really cool group. In fact, to the point where this kind of just reminded me of something of how close these communities get. There was a gentleman that was showing up to the gym, and his shoes were torn up, like just torn up, holes in them, duct tape on them, like torn up shoes. I know where he lives, and it's not in a good space either. But he was a gym rat, like for him, going to the gym every single day, spending hours at the gym was very important to him. So the group got together and actually knew his birthday was coming up and bought him a pair of sneakers.
That's fantastic,
didn't tell him,
man.
Didn't tell him. Didn't give it to him, just left them on his truck.
That's
and the
awesome.
only reason why we know he got them and received them was because he wore them the next He was just like, somebody left these on my truck.
Cool.
And he even said, he was just like, I guess I needed new sneakers.
That is awesome.
I mean, so these communities that you're talking about can be so deep. Yeah. And I mean, I remember birthday cards being signed for each other. Like, oh, Anthony's birthday is coming up. Let's all sign a card for him. And it's just like, what? Is it a special birthday? No, this woman was just like,
something nice.
This woman just wanted to get it, or going out to breakfast with them afterwards. a couple times. So you form this community. And I love what you said too of like, if there isn't one, then create one.
Yeah.
And I think that we can do that in so many places, even in business or especially in business, but in anywhere in our lives is that like, if where you're showing up, you're not getting what you want to receive, then present it.
Exactly.
Then be the person that you want to see on the other end and put your hand out, extend your hand, shake them, ask them how they're doing with no expectation either, because it's you that wants it.
Yeah.
So do it. And then if it works with that person, great. And if it doesn't, then go on to the next person.
You didn't lose anything. You didn't lose anything. You know, take your shot and just jump on the ledge. And one of two things are going to happen. One, they may look at you like you're absolutely insane. Okay, whatever. Or two, they're going to be like, oh, wow, that was really awesome. And their day may now just be that much better because you came over and did that.
And I would say just take your ear pods out or, you know, have one out or something because if you're looking to have people speak with you or build a community, then having those in, people are not going to speak with you.
For sure.
And so there's a time and place for it. Like I do like to work out with listening to a book or listening to a podcast. That's kind of how I do it. Yep. But if I have somebody engaged, like if I was going to work out with you, which we kind of texted about it this morning, I wouldn't have my ear pods in.
Right. And you know, that's obviously a precedent you set. You know, if you know you're with somebody, you're not going to put your headphones in. But, you know, the gym can be sometimes too for people that release. Like some people are fighting demons, man. They are fighting some demons. And the only way they win the fight is when they go to the gym. And that may be putting two headphones in and tuning the world out. And it's not to be rude. It's not they're being mean. It's just that's their way. When they come to the gym, I see it all the time. Dudes come in full hoodie, both headphones in. And like, if you didn't know them, you'd probably be standing there looking at him like, oh my God, that guy, like, what's going on? Like, is he okay? But that's just their way. Like, you know, they're just in it. They are deep in it. And when they hit the weights and they hit the treadmills or whatever, they hit them. And then they come out and you see them out in the street. They're happy. It's just the way that's how they are, you know? And it comes back to that expression, don't judge a book by its cover. Right. Like, you don't really know what that person is going through. Don't sit there and be afraid, you know? Honestly, those are the people you might even be able to go up to and be like, hey, what's going on, dude? And just give them a high five and walk out and they'll be like, cool. Like
or the level of focus too, because there's a huge level of focus that some people are trying to get at and that you don't get when you're really talking through your workout. Yeah. Talking through your work, I think sometimes is good. Like it's like a good social interaction of this community building that we're talking about. But then there's other times that you're like, you know what, I really want to hit these certain types of sets.
Exactly.
And I need to be focused. And the only way I could focus is to tune everybody out. Yep. And the other thing I want to touch on is what you just said about this gentleman helping you in the gym, in that you made the joke of like, well, maybe I've been doing it totally wrong. And I would argue that that's not true. I would say that you've been doing them right to a certain point. And what's really great, and this exemplifies everything that we see in life in terms of business, in terms of family life, in terms of fitness and nutrition, is that there's always a little tweak to get better.
For sure.
And Absolutely. There's always somebody that's available that has done it before and who has gone to another level. And they are able to see that tweak. Right. Everybody that you're working out with at the gym, or everybody that you're at your career with at the job or the family life, they're all kind of like seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And so therefore they're not seeing the little adjustment that can lead to great gains.
Exactly.
And so stepping out of the box and going to a whole other state and going to a whole other gym, and then you get this guy who was a professional lifter. So it's not just about his size, it's that he was a professional, studied the craft. He could see that there's tiny little adjustments that if you make are going to improve your sets and improve your muscle building, and then you were open to take that. And I think, you know, that's wonderful that happened there, and I think that that's really what happened for you. But that's everywhere in life, is that we experience this in business, we experience this in our family lives, of like an elder just saying to us, hey, listen, you know, I know she's crying right now, but just let her cry a little bit longer. And you're like, what? No, I can't let her cry. Just trust me. Just give her like another 30 seconds on the crying train, and I guarantee you everything's going to work out. Next thing you know, you're like, how did that work? Why did that work? That worked.
Experience is a wonderful thing. You know, knowledge is a wonderful thing. And you know, I think we get afraid because of generations, where it's like, you know, some people are older, so they're old fashioned. They don't know what they're talking about. They've also seen a lot, you know, so sometimes take into account what they have to say. You don't have to listen to everything, but it can't hurt to at least hear them out, you know, of what you want to do after. You're your own person, do what you want to do, but just hear people out, you know, give them your ear for that 30 seconds, you know, and most of the time, especially in the gym, nobody's coming up to you mid-set. And if they are, that's a whole different problem. But most people are waiting till you're done. So they're not interrupting you. They're coming after. They see you put the bar back or the weight back, whatever. And they're like, hey, listen, can I give you some advice? And that's usually the question. I have never, and I'm sure it does happen, but me personally, I've never experienced someone that just comes over really aggressive and it's like, you need to do this or you need to fix that. They're usually very friendly and it's like, hey, do you mind if I give you some pointers? And you could say no. Doesn't make you a bad person. Maybe you just don't want to hear their pointers and that's fine too. Like there's ways to communicate to people in that setting where it's like, hey, listen, man, I appreciate that you got some pointers for me. I'm okay for right now. I just want to focus on my workout. Say it in a polite way. Don't be a jerk, and they'll probably be a little taken back, but they'll be like, okay, do you,
yep.
And that's fine too, So I think it's just important, just allow your mind to be open because there are people that have been doing things for longer than you and maybe you don't like their advice. Maybe you do. It doesn't matter, but it can't hurt to at least listen.
Mm-hmm. And it's how we learn. It's how we grow is by listening and by listening to your point of like some of the things you don't want, but learning and growing has to do with you making a decision as to what you want to learn.
Exactly.
That's you're making that decision. And if you're only taking in what you want to hear, then chances are you're not growing because you're only taking in what you want.
You're stunting your growth.
And I was just actually having this conversation with somebody yesterday about growing because he was just talking about the challenge of growing. He's just like, it just always feels like I got to add something new to my plate. I got to try something else. And this guy wants to, trust me. He's in the self-development world. And we were just talking about this. He's like, it's always, something new. And I was like, well, that's the thing with growing, right? Is like, if we're growing, no matter what age we are, no matter where we are, we're always going to be adding something new. Yep. When we're not adding something new and changing a habit and doing something different, then we're no longer growing. We've stopped. We've stopped the growth, which is, as Tony Robbins would say, if you're not growing, you're dying. Yeah. So there you are. So speaking of mantras here, yours is, don't let fear of failing stop you from chasing your dreams.
Yeah. I try to live by that because that quote goes into everything. I mean, if you constantly look at things, whether it's fitness, career, relationship, I don't care what your part of life we're talking about, if you constantly focus on what if this doesn't happen? What if this doesn't work? What if I don't do this? Great. You completely derailed yourself. You're never going to succeed because you completely stunted your growth right there. So, for me, it's failure is part of life. It's how we grow. We have to fall in order to get up. Like that's just, there's just no other way to do it, So it's the concept of understanding that failure is a part of it, but what you do after you fail, you can't let it defeat you. And for me, having the goals that I want to, create in my future and stuff like that, there's a lot of options for failure. Like a lot of bad things could happen, but a lot of good can happen too. And it's about changing the track that you're on mentally, where it's like, okay, this one's going to the right, this one's going to the left, but the left one is leading to sunny skies. Mm-hmm. The right one's leading to dark, cloudy skies with a lot of thunder and lightning. Like, which one would you rather be on? And it's that concept of changing how you think. And that quote has always spoke to me, we tell our kids, dream big, dream big. Do we tell our children life sucks and the world is going to eat you alive and you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life? I mean, maybe some people tell their kids that. Listen, I'm sure there are.
Sadly, there are. But, and that's why it's so important to realize what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's these little kids as whether, they're 2, 5, 10, 15, whatever, they're looking to you to say, what am I to expect? And sure, you can give them the reality, but why right away? Give it to them in small doses and create the dream first. What's Disney? I always forget what Disney's a dream is a wish. I always forget what the full quote is, but as silly as it is, a dream is a wish your heart makes. I think that's what it is.
I don't know.
Something like that. I can't remember.
I was just at Disney. I don't know.
Yeah, but my point is we remember all these things as kids, and because we're so wrapped up in adult life, we forget all of the dreams we set as kids. And it's like, don't take that from them. Dream big. And okay, so we're grown. I guarantee you there's still something you want to do. Whether it's in your career, whether it's fitness, whatever, dream big. Because if you don't, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable.
And there's a couple ways to kind of like that you could look at it from a coaching perspective. It's and then what? When you're thinking about failing, it's like and then what? And then what? And then you go down that path, and eventually, like, as long as your life's not being threatened, if and then what just leads to and then I don't know, well then you're good. Keep going, right?
Keep going.
I just saw this clip. Dana White was talking, the CEO of UFC.
Yeah.
Was just talking about this in terms of failure, and they were asking him about it, and he was just talking about like, look, it was scary to start UFC. There was a lot of failures. In fact, from what I remember from an interview prior to this, seeing this clip, because he didn't talk about this in this clip, I remember him saying that UFC was something like $50 million in debt, and they were still fighting to keep it alive. And I mean, now it's like $1 billion company. I don't know. I don't know the numbers on it, right? But what he's talking about was that in that state, he's just like, I'm doing this, I'm starting this company out, I'm working hard, he's like, I could be I think he said he was a bellboy. He's like, I can go back to being a bellboy anytime. Right. Anytime. That job is waiting for me.
Right.
So like when you think about like dreaming big, and I love that you bring this up, this fear of failure, is that like dreaming big and not being afraid of failure. Just realize that like, look, whatever job you're leaving right now to dream big or to do big things with, it'll always be there.
Yep.
It'll always be there. I mean, like when I think about even with Den10 and our insurance agency is like going through all of the different things, it's like, look, I could always get a 9 to 5. Yep. I don't want a 9 to 5.
Right. Exactly.
I don't want to go back to that, but I could always do that.
Right.
So that's always there. So what else is there? Okay, well then let's just keep going. Let's keep fighting. Let's keep going big.
The best quote I ever heard, and I've looked it up because so many people have said it that I forget who originally said it, but it is so perfect here. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, we don't know who says that. I know that.
I feel like so many people. I was going to say Kobe did, Michael Jordan. I think Wayne Gretzky claimed it.
Wayne Gretzky is the one who's got the name on it.
I was going to say, I think he's the one that like has like the staple, but I don't know if he was the first one that said it.
Yeah, I mean, probably a coach said it to him too.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. But I feel like that quote holds so much weight because it's like, okay, well, if I don't take the shot, you're never going to make it. You're never going to miss. Like, just take the leap. It is scary. You could definitely fail, but you're never going to know if you don't try.
Right. Sports is so great for business because you have coaches in there that are telling players these kinds of things, right? Yeah. And a coach said to me, speaking to that quote, was like, he said to me, I'm more upset at the athlete, and we're talking about basketball here. Right. I'm more upset at the player, the athlete, who has an open shot and doesn't take it than I am at the one who takes a shot in traffic.
Yeah.
Like he's mad at the one who took the shot in traffic. Like that was a bad shot. You should not have taken that shot, right?
Right.
But I'm even more upset with the guy who's wide open and passed it off.
Yeah, because you're scared.
You didn't take the shot.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that logic in business and in life, it's about having an opportunity and seizing that moment and taking that shot. Because what's that open player thinking when they pass up that shot? They're thinking, I could miss. Yep. They're thinking, if I miss, I'll get pulled from the game. If I miss, it's going to affect my stats. If I miss, I'm going to ruin the game. Whatever it is, they're thinking all these negative thoughts. And goes back to the beginning of this podcast with you, is that all of those negative thoughts are preventing them from reaching their maximum potential. Exactly. And in fact, are making them coach not even want to play them anymore because they're not taking open shots. Yep. And so we go back to when you're talking about you had this negative affirmations, and now you speak positive affirmations.
I try, man. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's an easy thing to do because it's not. We all have our days. Things get tough. Things get very congested. And some days you really just, that's what you're feeling. It's very negative. Things suck. And that's going to happen. But it's what you do after that that's important. How do you overcome that? Because everyone has blocks. Everyone has their obstacles that they have to just jump over. And it's about building the mentality of when I have a bad day, how can I have a good day?
So you mentioned, and we'll cap with this, and that you mentioned that you start your day now with some positive affirmations. What are some of the ones that you start your day with now?
It's only one. Today's going to be a good day. Just that one, because I look at it as no matter what is going to happen today is going to be a good day.
Do you play Ice Cube to that?
I should. That would make life so much easier. Just every day I play Ice Cube. But it is one of those things, man. That one line, it does so much for me in a day, because I try to go through my day, and not every day is a good day. Okay, that's fine. Sure. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. The day after is going to be a good day. Like, it's about changing how everything kind of progress.
That's awesome. And I think just being grateful for everything that we have, like you said, with your family and your kids. And I mean, they're beautiful kids that you're raising, and now you're coaching basketball.
Yep, while playing myself, so it's always fun.
Taking on the reins for the kindergarten group for me.
Oh, that's not funny. No, we're not discussing this. It's too early.
You know what? Just on like a little hobby side here of basketball. So how did you enjoy your first year of coaching?
It was great. It was definitely a learning curve. I had the first and second graders, so it's dealing with like squirrels, basically.
Yeah.
There was a couple that are really focused and really know what they want to do, and then the rest of them are just like, oh my goodness, look in the sky and look on the wall, and I'm going to run here and do that, and you're just like, Let's play basketball, but I want to go over here, and I'm going to run this, and I'm going to throw this. And
wait till you see what kindergarten.
I'm sure it's 10 times worse. Dealing with my own 5-year-old, yeah, I'm sure it's worse.
Kindergarten is an eye awakener of like having to keep them occupied.
Oh,
I'll get off air. We'll talk about some tips in terms of that, of putting them in stations and everything. We'll talk about that when we get into the season.
It won't only be just me. I'm sure I will have help.
Do you think that you'll continue coaching throughout their career?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids love it, and coaching. I coach them with t-ball and softball, and they would look for it. It's the one thing with my kids that I can truly bond with them over, because my daughter and my son do dance, so that's my wife's thing. I don't dance. That's a big no for me.
You don't dance?
I do not dance. You can't get me to dance. You can't pay me to dance. It's not a thing. But
I'll do leaps in the living room.
Oh God, no, nope. I might break it down in my living room because nobody's watching. It's different. But, they're big into that. My daughter's been dancing. She was like 3. So, awesome. 4 or 5 years now. And that's my wife's thing. So for me, it was always, what can I do with them that we can kind of have that similar bond, and that bond, So it's always been sports. My kids both do soccer. My son's now going to do basketball. My daughter does soccer, basketball. She did softball this year. She wants to get into volleyball. Like,
oh, wow.
They're all about the sports. And even if it's a sport that I'm not good at baseball, but I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to learn and try to help them grow for it. So, it's one of those things where, so long as they'll allow me to, and they're not like, Dad, get away from me, you're embarrassing me, I'm going to do it.
I love it. I started with the basketball, and now I also got into coaching them for soccer. And you're 100% right. It opens up a whole different lane of conversation with them.
Yeah.
And also their friends, like they look at us differently, like they speak to us differently. And they're excited to tell us things because of the way that we coach. Like you and I think we're similar. We're like fatherly when we coach. So we're like, we care about what the kid has to say. We're not just like, do this drill and that's it.
Yeah,
we actually want to hear. Some of them are distracting. They want to be distracted, that's for sure. But we got to get them back in line.
Exactly.
But it opens up a whole new. I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be like a lifelong passion for me.
It's definitely rewarding. You get all these kids, and it's cool to see them grow. If you start in a league and you're starting at the bottom, now you're watching them go. If they're continuing, they go from kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and you're coaching them throughout, or someone else, and you're just seeing them grow, and it's like, that's really awesome. Yeah. Like you have that in your mind, and it's just a great feeling.
And you and I both know from playing basketball together is that even as we get into adulthood, like you still grow in sports. Yeah. Like we've gotten improved since we started playing together.
For sure.
Which we got to get back on the court together.
Yeah, well,
All right. Well, so concluding this whole episode, I think, this has just been really awesome having you on here. It's always nice to have a friend on. It's always nice to have somebody where we can talk business, we can talk fitness like what you're doing, and then we can just talk as friends. But I want to make sure that everybody knows about your podcast and where they can find you and how they can get a hold of you. Of course, all of that'll be in the show notes, but go ahead.
So we're on, the podcast is on Spotify, Freeminded Health and Fitness. And then you can also find it on Apple Podcasts and iHeartMedia.
And then how can people find you on social?
So there's a couple of different ways. There is my main fitness page, which is Goodbye Dad Bod on Instagram. And then I'm also on Instagram with the podcast Freeminded. Freeminded Health Fitness, HFP, I believe it is. I had to abbreviate it because someone there was a whole thing about it. But so I'm also on Twitter with the same one for the podcast. As far as Facebook goes, I do have my Goodbye Dad Bod page as well.
Goodbye Dad Bod, I think, is a really cool one to find you at. And then Freeminded Health and Fitness Podcast, streaming on all platforms, and then also on Facebook. It's been awesome having you in, Aaron.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Michael Esposito Show. For show notes, video clips, and more episodes, go to michaelespositoinc.com/podcast. Thank you again to our sponsor, Den10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. That's DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den10, you're giving back on a global scale. This episode was produced by Uncle Mike at the iHeart Studios in Poughkeepsie. Special thanks to Lara Rodrian for the opportunity and my team at Michael Esposito Inc.